Hello there, my name is Bruce Rain from Brankers Creations. Thank you very much for joining me on my live stream. I want to say hello to Jay from the House of Moth, who has already informed me that he is going to be late. So don't be fooled by the fact that he's put his name up there. He's not here at the moment. Sad Mac, hello, and Patrick is here, and Adam McGee, and Joe. Hello, how you doing? I don't expect a whole lot of viewers for this one because I didn't really give people a lot of warning. This is not a Mac SE power supply. Let me change the text on that, get all this sorted out, and what we're going to say today is, here we go. Now, this is essentially indicating my ignorance on these matters, what I'm about to type here. Just bear with me a minute. Yep, I'm going to do it that way. Okay, and we'll save that. There we go. Some sort of Nvidia thing. I don't even know if I've done the right capitalization on that. I mean, is it a little N and a big V or something? I can't remember. Justin, hello. Oh, look at that. Jay is here. Sort of. First of all, I want to apologize for this stain here on this shirt that I just discovered before I went live. Very embarrassing. It's not bird poo or anything like that. It is a stain. All right, just packed for a trip to VCF, followed by a trip to New Hampshire and then Florida. Yep. Well, a little shout out to Steve, who won't be watching me right now, who is currently at one of the VCFs. Keeping in mind, of course, I'm in Australia, so I really don't know what a VCF is. But he's at one of the VCFs, because I believe there are several VCFs. Joe Williams, hello. The Obsolete Techie, hello. Thomas Armstrong, hello. Now what I'm just going to quickly do here is I'm going to go into my, I like to open up my live stream in the browser. I've got the live stream open in my browsing software here, but I often find it a little bit hard to read the chat. So I like to have the chat open here in my actual browser window as well. So I'm just doing that now. There we go. All right. So a bit of a departure, this one. This is someone who found me from watching my trace repair video. And they reached out and contacted me and said, I've got this damaged trace on an Nvidia card. Is it something you think you can fix? So I said, well, there's only one way to find out, and that is to send it to me. So that is what he has done, and that is what we're going to be looking at today. Midwest. Okay, so it's VCF Midwest. So anyhow, that's basically it. I've got a couple little housekeeping tasks I'm going to do first. I just remembered that I was meant to remember something and I've forgotten it. So I just want to see if I can remember what it is that I forgot, because I want to remember. No, darn it. I'm cross at myself now. I'll have to deal with that problem later on. Okay, the thing that I have forgotten, which I'm going to have to go up to the house to remind myself of, because, Oh, actually, you know what? Oh, damn, I didn't bring my phone down with me. Boy, not organised today. Sorry, people. Okay, so let's get some of these things out of the way so I've got some room to work. Things are a bit of a mess at the moment. I do plan to do something about that this afternoon. I've decided that after this live stream, it will be tidy time. Adam, you will see Steve tomorrow. That's excellent. Okay, so I have been working on this Macintosh SE and getting nowhere with it. And I tried to do something and it was worse after doing it. So I'm now going to try and return it to its original status and hope that it gets back to the way it was before. This is one of the reasons why I recently posted in Facebook a new term that I came up with called a retrogressive repair. And that is when you go to repair something, the more you try and repair it, the more broken it gets. So this is one that is definitely turning out to be a retrogressive repair. I blame Kai for making me feel so confident with Macintosh SEs. I know he's asleep now, so he can't hear that. So, Oz Retrocom. Hello, Tone. How's it going? my work table today. I forgot what material it was made of. Yeah. I built this particular workbench with the plan in mind that it's an office table, but then I got some plywood and cut it to size to put on top, so that it didn't matter if it got burned and damaged and stuff like that. And the idea would be when it got burned to a certain point, I would just replace it. But I honestly can't ever see myself getting this table tidy enough for me to be able to actually lift that piece of timber off. So that's that. Okay, so just planning to put this little guy back in. Right, so just a quick little background on this Macintosh SE. When it boots, it gets Happy Mac. It starts into the operating system, or starts into the Welcome to Macintosh. Does Welcome to Macintosh, loads for a little bit, and then freezes. It doesn't matter what operating system, just freezes. And I've done all sorts of different tests, and I noticed that the PLCC socket for the Baboo chip here was cracked. So that has since been replaced. And that resolved some of the graphics issues I was having in the last one. So the graphics fine, but it's still doing the same thing. But one of the things I did notice was that when when the computer starts up, typically the stages of startup are, you obviously get a chime, and then you get a grey screen. And then when it actually then starts to load from the ROMs, you get the corners then get rounded. That grey screen just suddenly sort of changes to have rounded corners, and you get a cursor. Now at that point, if you have a mouse connected, you can move the cursor around. But not with this one. Once the cursor comes up with the mouse connected, it doesn't move around. If I hold down Shift to turn extensions off, that doesn't work. So I'm not getting any ADB connection at all. So I checked around the ADB, I checked a transistor that was there, I checked a couple of resistors, and then I thought I'll replace the ADB chip just on the off chance. I mean, it may not be the ADB, but again, it's just sort of like looking into the different options. So I whipped off the ADB chip, put on an ADB chip from another computer I've got, which is in questionable shape, and it works even less now. So anyhow, I'm putting the original ADB chip back on, and we'll see if it at least gets back to the state that it was before. All right, let's get the old WD-40 out of the way, the water displacement, number 40. Apples Anonymous, thank you for joining. Which part of Apples Anonymous, you're in Australia, aren't you? Which part of Australia are you in at the moment? Or are you in? I can't remember. I thought it was Victoria, but I could be wrong. I need to confirm, because these are the sorts of things that I'm very, very good at forgetting. I've got a special skill with forgetting important details. Oopsie. This is not something I want to be doing with one hand. There we go. Okay. And then once I just get this thing off my bench, we can then move on to the pièce de résistance. Okay, Melbourne in lockdown. Yes, because Melbourne, I just saw, got, what was it, some pretty awesome numbers today. So that's something awesome. But having said that, we're in lockdown here as well. All getting used to it to some extent, as much as it can be. Yep. Okay, so I'm just soldering this on. This isn't really part of the live stream. This is more just me being able to clean my desk. I'll get this board out of the way. I'm not going to test this now because the shell is actually not close at hand. Worry about that later on. Some of the repairs that I do, I like to do live on stream. I like to show people what I'm doing. I know I'm not showing you what I'm doing at the moment. You're just staring at my head. You're not seeing the microscope. I'll let you see the microscope because I'm nice. But there are other repairs that just involve such repetition and such, all sorts of, fairly slow and tedious diagnostic processes that I just tend not to live stream them. I'm just like, no one needs to see that. There's no way I can make that interesting. Really short pins on this chip. I'm doing a terrible job here. Let's hope my soldering gets a little bit better before I start my next job. I hate through-hole soldering. I just thought I'd mention that. I know I've mentioned it before. Okay, whoopsie. Right, so here is, let's just go back to the old front view. Okay, right. Just bear with me a second while I deal with this thing here. Right, so Michael Markarian, hello. Own a Mac with an earth leakage problem. I haven't, I can tell you that. So who else is here? We've got, because things have just moved here a bit. Oh goodness me, look at all this. Okay. Micro Mage Repaired, did I say hello to you? If not, hello. Sam Perner, hello. From Sam in Birmingham, Alabama. Howdy, howdy, howdy. And who else we got here? John Pendleton. I just realised there are a whole bunch of people here. Amory Jackson. I missed a lot of people. Anyhow. Right. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so now I think I feel like I'm caught up enough to be able to continue with what I was doing. So anyhow, I basically got this email message from someone, you know, a bit of a kind of a desperate plea from someone here in Australia, in Tasmania. I think it was Tasmania. Yeah, I think it was Tasmania. Yeah. And anyhow, they have this thing here, and it is a display card. And as you can see, it's quite a monster of a thing. Lovely little mirror here. You can actually see, if I can get it to shine, see my own face in the screen there. I nearly had it there for a second. There we are. There we go. There's a hello. So this is an Nvidia display card. Someone else probably knows what it is. I really don't know these things very well. Let's see if we can read the serial number. It says, RTX 3090, 24G gaming, 213S, I think, something like that. ROG Strix. Oh, I don't know what that means. Anyhow, so it is an I just said it, didn't I? RTX something. RTX 3090. Now, of course, one of the challenges with this, when I've worked on this, I cannot test it. I don't have anything that will allow me to test this, and it didn't come with any of the heat sinks either, or fan or anything like that. It just came to me like this. So I can't test this. The hope is that whatever I do is going to be fairly clearly obvious that the problem has been resolved. Anyhow, the issue with this particular card is on this side here. It's very, very hard to see because it's so small. But the problem is there. And the problem is there. Now, essentially what has happened is this has been put into a computer and during the, I guess, reassembly of some parts or something, obviously a card like this takes up a fair bit of space. Someone has done up some screws and those screws went too far and they actually dug into this card. And that's the little thumbnail of my live stream here. And I'll actually just jump across the microscope and I'll show you these. So there are two instances of this. Microscope. There is this one here. Right there. So that's where a screw has gone in. And we've got this one here, where a screw has gone in there. Now, I did a trace repair video a long while ago, and obviously a lot of people watched that. But of course, one of the things about that trace repair video, it was me doing trace repair on, I think it was a Macintosh SE or a Classic 2 or something like that. But yeah, basically long screw damage is what it's referred to. So long screw damage is a term that's been coined with phones. And the phones, most phones these days, smartphones, they are so small, so compact, they have all different screws that go into different spaces. If you happen to mix up the screws, you put in a slightly long screw into a small hole, you can often go all the way through and then do damage to whatever is underneath the screw hole. And that's referred to as long screw damage. I think it might have been Rossmann that coined that term, but it could have been Jesse Jones or someone like that. But anyhow, it's a term that's commonly used, long screw damage, and this is essentially what we've got here. We've got long screw damage going on here. Now, because when I did my trace repair video, it was with a really old vintage computer. You know, the question you have after that is, well, can I apply this sort of stuff to a modern device like this? And hopefully today we're going to prove that we can. Now, how many layers in that board? That is a very good question, Adam. And so far as I can see, on this hole here, we've broken through 2 layers. So we've got the top layer. I'm just going to zoom into this so we get a slightly better view. That looks reasonably focused. So I believe in this one here, we've gone through 2 layers, and that is essentially the top layer, which are these traces running horizontally here. And then we've got a large span of copper underneath that, which is either going to be a ground or a voltage. Now, there could be more layers in this board, but these are the ones that we've broken through on this one. This one we've actually broken through 3 layers. So we've got this one here, that one there. Then we've got this one here, which, you know, sort of you can see up there going around. And then we've got the top layer here with the 3 traces there, 4 traces. Now, you can really tell with these that these aren't fine traces going on in these inner layers. They are large, flat expanses of copper, which means that they're either going to be a voltage rail or they're going to be a ground. And we can check that. Nothing needs to be repaired in these. All we need to do is insulate them. Because these lower ones here, if you just imagine there's this great big flat expanse of copper, all we've done is put a hole in it. It's still going to travel around the hole. We're not actually going to lose anything by the damage to these underneath layers. All I need to do is just make sure they're insulated from each other and from that top layer. So, yes, I don't know if it's a crypto mining rig. We'll put it this way. I think we have to assume that this is a gaming one. I mean, you know, I sort of feel like if it was a crypto mining thing, they'd probably just thrown it away and bought a new one. This strikes me really as someone, you know, probably just a home user who's just got themselves in a bit of a pickle. So I don't really feel like this is a sort of a crypto mining thing. But you know, who knows? So Retro Techie, hello. Thank you for joining. So we don't really need to worry about repairing these lower layers. We just need to clean them up and insulate them. What I do intend to do though is try and find out what these layers do. Now we're going to have to, one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get these traces from the top. We're going to have to peel them back. I ideally want a bit of space to work with the layers underneath. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to just take the coating off the top of these, and then I'm going to probably get these traces and peel them back a little bit. If they get damaged, I'll just replace them with wires. But I want a more clear space for working in the hole. So we're going to start with that. Now I think what I might do with this, because this is a wobbly board, if we have a look at this, just going to this view here, it's got this thing poking down the bottom here, which when I actually go to set this on the table, the board's all wobbly. I want it to be flat. So I'm going to hopefully use my little clippy things that I made and designed with my own brain. Oh, they're too small. What a piffle. I might have to try something else. I've got these little clamps that I made. I might be able to get these to work because these are quite tall. So I'm going to put one clamp here. I'm going to get another clamp. I'm going to put one clamp here. And I'll put another clamp here. I'm making legs, essentially making legs. That's all I'm doing. These are 3D printed. I will make all of the STL files of stuff that I've been making available at some stage. I just haven't got around to setting myself up properly on Thingiverse and making things available because I make all of these things for myself. And I think it's good to share this sort of stuff with the world. This is a repair for a customer. Yes, it is indeed. I'll just see if I've got enough stability there. Well, that seems reasonably stable. Chickens are making a bit of noise out there. Sorry, folks. I just don't want this one too close to the work that I'm actually doing. Okay. So, all right, what I have done here is I have put these little clamps on here like that, that when I put it down, that will provide some stability. It'll sit flat. All I have to do is lift the microscope up so that I set my focal depth at an appropriate height for that. There we go. Let's check. Oops. That's looking pretty good to me. Yes, yes, and yes. So, microscope. Right, so one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to get our trusty scalpel, which really looks like it needs to be replaced. So let's put a new one on. I've talked about these scalpels before. I do have links for them in the description of the video. You know, people can just use an X-Acto or a curved X-Acto or something like that. I quite like using these ones. They're surgical scalpels, which seems a bit of overkill, but they are just insanely sharp. And I really like these ones with a curved blade because they are very good for scraping, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing with them now. It's getting very warm here, by the way, I should mention. I'm in Sydney at the moment. We've just started spring. It's been spring now for 11 days. And it's forecast to be 30 degrees C today. So don't ask me what that is in fifth, but it's pretty warm. It's, put it this way, it's 10 degrees above the average. We're not looking at the microscope, are we? Now we are. Right, I'm going to just sort of lift this up a little. I think I want a little bit more visible space here. All right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, look, just the whole mining question with this here, I can't say for certain whether this is being used for mining or not, but just based on the discussions I've had with the customer, this sounds more like someone's bought this for their gaming rig. That's certainly how it looks to me. Okay, so let's do some scrapey scrape. Get some of this coating off. This is pretty harsh. One of the things with these traces, I really don't care too much what happens to the copper here because I can replace it with wire. I'm more concerned about what's going on under here. I don't like the way this bulges in the middle. Oh, that's quite good actually. Is that the same layer of copper as that? I think so. Yep, that's all just one big solid layer of copper, so that's good. The bulge in it was just the copper poking up, so. Well, I'm going to just do this at a different angle because I want to scrape downwards. I think I'll get better progress doing that. Graphics cards are expensive because of miners. Yeah, I know. So Nvidia, what card? It says something 3090. How's that? Something 3090. Yeah, we're going to look at the serial number to satisfy everyone's curiosity. It is a gaming laptop. RTX 3090. It's the biggest bloody thing I've ever seen. Put it that way. Having said that, I'm not much of a gamer. I'm not much into games. I don't know, a bit of a workaholic or whatever. But if I have spare time for games, I'm doing something else. You know, I'll be repairing something, or I'll be cleaning something, or I'll be building something, or whatever the case may be, programming something. I just don't have. I cannot justify to my brain to spend time on, oh, that's a lovely noise, isn't it? To spend time on it. Okay, looking good. Definitely got some nice exposed copper there. All my video cards have new bus connectors on them. Got to show you something you'll like. And I'm really, really sorry. This is the thing that I'm very annoyed with myself about, that I talked about at the beginning of the stream. I've forgotten their name. It was Andy or Andrew or Anthony, or I can't remember. I'll need to check. I'll go up and check. But this was a gift to the channel from a viewer. I will get the name properly and actually thank this person properly. This was a gift to the channel. Someone raided found a battery destroyed Macintosh 2 SI, and saw this card in there in pretty good condition and said, "Hey, do you want it?" And I said, "Well, yes, please." It's an Apple 824 GC. It was a pretty powerful graphics card at the time, and as you can see, it's even got a VRAM upgrade here. This one needs a driver in order to utilize the acceleration that it has, and it's a pretty good card. The only thing I don't like about it is it doesn't work with my Radius Rocket. So when I put this in my Macintosh 2 CI, if the Radius Rocket switches on, this thing doesn't work. Or certainly the drivers for it don't work. It'll work as just a plain unaccelerated display card, but if I'm going to do that, I may as well just stick an 824 in there. I've got an E-Machines as well in there. So this is, this is a pretty good card. I mean, it was no slouch at the time. I mean, it's still the fairly modest standards, even by vintage standards. But at the time this came out, this was the duck's guts. So I want that video card. Yes, you can't have it. I have to admit, I have got obviously lots of vintage computers, but I'm not really on the lookout for that many more. There are a couple that I'd like to have. I'd like to own a portable. I'd like to own a 2FX, but really, I'd like to own a 2X. But really, with what I have got most of what I want. What I'm really on the lookout for now are new bus cards and expansion cards and accelerators and stuff like that, but they're just going for stupid money. So it's just, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Huh? Okay, so let's continue with this, because keeping in mind we do have 2 of these to do, and I'm still only looking at the first one. A card has an AMD chip. It does indeed. Absolutely has an AMD chip. It is a... it says Advanced Micro Devices. Ooh. It's rubbed out. Something 9030 GC. Interesting, they refer to this as a Dolphin. It's written on the board here, it's written on the ROM chip, Dolphin. But it wasn't referred to a Dolphin in Apple's marketing. Maybe that was just a code name for it. They call it the 824 GC. So, and that. But anyhow, the great thing about it was it came out of a battery destroyed 2 SI. It was sent to me with no idea whether it worked, and it works beautifully. Downloaded the drivers last night, got it working. The way you can really tell that it's working with the acceleration is when you load it up on a page, load it up on the Finder. If you have a Finder window without acceleration, you grab it and you move it to another spot. It redraws kind of, and you can actually watch it redraw from top to bottom. When you turn the acceleration on, when you move the window, it just redraws instantaneously. So you know that it's working there. That was the Ants Pants of Newbus cards at the time. Is that a Toby card? I don't think so. Okay. I couldn't give those cards away at one stage. Now everyone wants one. I know, it's so true though, isn't it? There is this. It's this bell curve type thing of, popularity and price and stuff like that, and it seems to be around about the 25 to 30 year mark where these things start to become valuable again. Now, admittedly, sometimes that can be stretched sometimes. I mean, I mentioned this in one of my other live streams. One of my recapping customers, and someone who hops onto the channel quite a bit as well, hops onto the chat. He might even turn up today. A guy called Max. He recently sold a dual 1.25 mirror drive door, fully working, but a dual 1.25 gigahertz mirror drive door for over 600 Australian dollars on eBay auction. Now, that wasn't a buy it now price. That was an auction starting price of $1, and people bid that thing up to 600 Australian dollars for a mirror drive door. Now, wow. I say wow. And with that, I will basically just say,
smash that like button.
So, yeah, anyhow, that's... but there are still times, and it doesn't happen that often, but there are still times when you get hold of deals, and I just say to anyone who's doing collecting is to just, hold out. They do happen. You can end up with a situation where someone has a whole pile of this stuff. It's been in their garage, or they inherited it or something like that. They have got no idea what it's worth. It's worth nothing to them. They don't care. They just want it gone. They just go, hey, have the lot for $100. And you just rock up and you grab it all and you say, thank you very much. And they're happy because they've got their $100. They've got rid of all this stuff. You're happy because you've picked up all this stuff, sort of for super cheap. I mean, that's something that's happened to me once, and it's happened to me a couple of times. So, Logan, hello. Thank you for joining. I'd never pay $600 for a mirror drive door. Neither would I. I bought two just recently for $50 a piece. I mean, $600? Gosh. But anyhow, it happened. It's real. I saw the auction. It wasn't made up. Microscope. I got a broken 2X that turned out to have 5 rare new bus cards in it. Oh, I don't want to talk to you, Adam. I don't want to talk to you. I am so jelly. Yes, I mean, I picked up a Macintosh 2 with a, I've mentioned this on my live streams before, but I picked up a Macintosh 2 in a lot, and it didn't have a power supply in it, and I was pretty bummed that it didn't have a power supply in it. But what it did have in it was a 68040 radius rocket card in it. And that, to me, was the find of the century, that thing. I love my radius rocket. The thing I love about it the most is the Macintosh 2 Ci will quite happily run System 6. So I can actually, on that 2 Ci, with the radius rocket, run System 6. And I tell you what, if you want to see a computer fly that is System 6 running on an 040 CPU, it absolutely flies. Everything on the thing is instantaneous. It's like using a 2019 Classic Mac Pro. Oh, not Classic Mac Pro, Mac Pro. Not Classic anymore, are they? If it's 2019. Okay, just got to get rid of this. This coating on these traces is really, really thick and hard and difficult. There we go. Right, well, I think that's reasonable for now. I need to make a little bit of space here. So I'm going to do something which might seem a little bit weird, but I'm actually going to try and dig up these traces and bend them back. If I can. If I can't, we won't do it. Whoop, there we go. There we go. Do this. I'm going to try and do this one a little bit better. I didn't like the way I finished that one. Oi, oi. Come on. There we go. What are you doing, Bruce? You're crazy. Mike Roja, hello. Welcome. Last 2SI came with new bus adapter FPU card in it, along with new bus Ethernet card, which is awesome. That is what you want. Now, I've got a pretty good supply of new bus Ethernet cards, so I'm not really on the prowl for them. One of the things I am really looking for at the moment is display cards. I'd really love to get myself like a Radius or a Supermac new bus display card. I used to have this absolutely awesome Supermac display card, which I stupidly sold. Stupidly. In the Great Purge of 2007, which I still regret. But you will appreciate this, Adam. This is I got this as well, so that when the person sent me that display card, they also sent me the little PDS to new bus adapter with the 68882 math coprocessor, which is just there. Is that it? No, just there. There's a math coprocessor. So the interesting thing about the Macintosh 2SI, it was something that was originally going to be designed to sort of replace the 2CI. But the 2CI was still doing rip-roaring sales. So what they ended up actually doing is they kind of scaled the 2SI back a little bit. It was originally meant to run at 25 megahertz, I think, and they pulled it back to 20. I think that was what they did, so that they didn't want it to compete with the 2CI sales. They still wanted the big customers to spend more money and buy the 2CI rather than the 2SI. So the 2SI didn't have an FPU, had a slightly slower CPU, and only had one PDS slot rather than having those 3 new bus slots that the 2CI had. But you could buy this, which was a PDS to new bus adapter, which allowed you to connect one new bus card horizontally on the computer, and obviously added that math processor as well. The 2CI also has, I think it's 8 memory slots, whereas the SI only has 4. So there's more RAM expandability with the 2CI. And of course the 2CI hung around for ages, you know. But, whoops, and then you drop it. Oh, and then you roll a chair over it. Oh, that hurt. But the main thing with this is that this has one little surface mount electrolytic capacitor which has to be replaced. I got one of these where that single capacitor had done an incredible amount of damage to the board. I repaired it, I still have it, but yeah, this is something that's going to be done ASAP. Okay, whew, phew. Okay, and I have a box of new bus cards that I have to sort out and do a video on them. Well, you know, if at the end of the day you end up with like an extra display card here floating around, you know, you can always send it my way. Right, this is turning out to be the slowest repair I've ever done. Sorry, folks. I have some sweet Rastrops new bus cards. Yes, I wouldn't mind Rastrops. Okay, now this one here, I'm actually going to break this trace, which again seems pretty stupid, but it can always be repaired. I'm going to try and do this without actually stabbing myself with this scalpel. Whoopsie. Oops, and I've scraped through to another one. It's alright, that'll be fine. Yeah. So just to remind people, what I'm doing here is I'm making myself a little bit of space around this hole so I can try and patch it up. God, come on. Yeah, these tweezers. Come on, man. There we go. Just going to spin this around the other way. Whoops. Oh, that one came up real quick. Wish the rest of them weren't that easy. So we're just concentrating here, guys. All right, so that's looking pretty good. I mean, it probably doesn't look pretty good, but I'm feeling pretty happy with that. So what I want to do is I want to clean up a little bit around here now. So I'm just going to, I've got all these little flecks of copper here, and I just need to make sure that we're not doing anything to create have we gone through 4 layers here? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Do you see what I see? A trace underneath this layer, and it might spell doom for the repair. So, 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. Okay, so what are we going to do here? I'm just going to bend these back down again. But I'm sure this, what I'm doing here, you'll see why it was necessary for me to kind of get these top traces out of the way. Because I really need to see what's going on underneath. And so far, I'm less than pleased. We have throw it away and buy another one. Yeah. Okay, so we have to think about this. Sorry guys, I've gone quiet because I'm thinking at the moment. I'm thinking about my plan of attack for this thing. As far as I can see here, there are only 2 traces that have been damaged here. That one underneath, that is, that one and that one. So, sorry, there are pigeons, I think, getting it on the shed roof at the moment. It is spring after all. Perhaps a drop of IPA on the damaged area will help you see better. Yeah, it might. Okay, BR33CH, I assume is meant to be breach. We are looking at a Nvidia, I should put it on the description so that I don't keep forgetting. Nvidia RTX 3090. There we go. I'm gonna put it in there. I'm going to type it in. Do I do it with a little n and a big V? Here, dear. Is that how it's done? RTX 3090 trace damage. Save. Is that how Nvidia is done, like that? I'm just not sure. I'm not really much of a graphics card person. What is it? Oh no, it's like a little n and all the rest are big on their logo anyway. See? It's a lowercase n, and then, well, it could be a lowercase v, but it's definitely a capital I-D-I-A. Right. So, I think ultimately what I am going to have to do here, I really don't see much other option. I've got to clean away some of this layer here, so that I can see what's going on in this layer here. Thankfully, this layer here is fine. All this very bottom one, all I need to do is insulate that. No real big deal there. But it's this here. It's these traces that I see here and here. And there might be more. I'm just not seeing them. And in order to see them, I need to peel back some of this large copper plane here. I'd be interested to see where that large plane of copper goes to. I'm going to grab a multimeter. It's a very expensive card, isn't it? Well, that's why this person, I think, was so incredibly motivated. Okay. Hang on. I have an RGB adapter card if you still want it. A gift. Oh, isn't that nice? Sorry to take over your chat. Now, that's fine. I don't mind that for, you know, the giving gifts to Joe channel. It can be that for a little while. I don't mind that at all. Okay, I've got this on beepity beep mode. It's also sometimes referred to as continuity mode on a multimeter, but I prefer beepity beep mode. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to touch this little plane of copper here and see if it looks like it goes to ground. Okay, so that one there is definitely a ground plane. This one here, that is also a ground plane. So unless they're actually making contact over here, which they might be, that and that are both ground planes by the looks of things. But we will need to check to see that. Hey, what? We will need to check and see that because, as I say, when we get to this side here, we may find stuff being all minced together inside there. We'll have to clean that up. But that's part 2 of this already riveting video. Now, I am going to get out the Dremel. Now, this is kind of sucky because it's very noisy. So I might have to play around a little bit with the sound levels when I do that so I don't blow people's brains out. Get all my Dremel bits here. But I'm going to get my little tiny weeny little engraver because I want to move a little bit of this stuff in a hurry. So we'll just have to wait and see just how steady my hands are, eh? Will they be... I will say in my own defense that your hands always look wobblier under a microscope than they are not under a microscope. Oh crap, I'm dropping things. Oh, I'm dropping everything. All the things are being dropped. Where are we? Yeah, I just want to make sure that I've got the right little tool here because I think I have 2 of them and I just want to make sure I'm using the smallest one. Here's another one. So, a little bit rusty. I think I'll use this one, it's newer. Not quite as rusty. We'll see how it goes. And then I'll pick up the thing that I dropped, which is down here. Oh, and I dropped something else too. Beepity beep mode. All right, so righty. Now, okay, let me just turn the volume. I'm going to turn the volume down here a little bit. So, and obviously it's going to impact on my speaking, but there we go. Oops. Whew, sorry about that, folks. Let me know if the volume is okay on my speaking there. Yeah, when the Dremel's involved, it is a whole new level of issue, isn't it? But basically what I've done now is I've just exposed as much of this copper as I can. This is the ground plane. And what I'm primarily interested in doing is just seeing if there's anything in that next layer down. So I want to actually kind of lift this up a little bit. I actually want to cut this away, but we're going to be doing it in a controlled fashion rather than just destroying it with a screwdriver. So where's it hiding? There it is. This one may end up being a two-parter, you know, because I'll tell you what, this doesn't look like anything's going to happen fast. Right, so the area that I'm really most concerned about is here. So I've got these two little traces here, and if I can just lift up this copper layer a little bit. Whoopsie. See what's under it. So funny, when I saw this and I just thought, oh, I got a couple of ground planes there. I got a ground plane and power and what, you know, VCC there, but oh, I found traces. Found actual traces. Not happy, Jan. This is where an X-ray would actually come in quite handy. So I'll be able to see exactly what's going on in the other layers. Sorry, lots of concentration going on here at the moment. Sorry for the silence. Whoops, I just cut one of those traces. I probably should have just cut them off anyway. I don't know why I'm trying to save them. I'm seeing the chat move. I'm hoping everyone's just content chatting to themselves. What I'm really worried about is I'm worried about someone seeing something and then typing into the chat, "Hey Bruce, stop what you're doing, I just noticed something." That scares me. As I mentioned, I'm really not concerned what happens to this large plane of copper here, because it is one that is clearly just a large flat expanse. So when I put a hole in it, the electrons will just find their way around the side. Oh, screw damage, Mike, yes. Yeah, so this was basically caused when someone put this in their computer and then they tightened something up. I don't know what, because I don't know what sort of computer it was or what the circumstances were, but they tightened something up and the screw went through and actually cut two holes, two lovely big holes in this board. Now, needless to say, the person who did it was devastated, because we know that this is not a cheap board. And they contacted me with a certain air of desperation, offered me a large sum of money to repair it. I said, look, you don't need to do that. I will look at it. I will provide you with a quote for repair after I've had a chance to look at it, and then you can decide whether you want to go ahead with it. So now, having said that, it has turned out to be more difficult than I originally anticipated, but I think I should still be able to come in for my original quote. So I think we're pretty safe. Whew. It's certainly a change from doing recapping on a SE30 though, isn't it? Excuse me. Nice little burp there. Just snuck out. Didn't give me any warning it was coming. Anyone will think that I'm turning into the Canadian computer collector there with unexpected burps like that just rocking up. Right, okay, so we're looking a little bit more like a controlled explosion now. And what I can see is there is one trace traveling under here. I'm going to just point that out. I'll spin this around so it's a little bit more stable. Actually, I'll pull this back a bit. There we go. So let's just look at the situation here again. We'll just reassess where we are. We've got these traces on the top. No problem there. It doesn't really matter what happens to these. They can get torn, ripped, whatever. I can replace them. I've got really no concern about those whatsoever. Then we've got this one flat plane down here, which appears to be a ground, unless, of course, it's making contacts in the other hole and it isn't a ground. But it's certainly showing continuity to ground at the moment, and so is this little one down here. Okay, so let's do that. But what I found was, and I was not expecting, was this little middle layer here where we've got a couple of traces. So we've got one trace there, we've got one trace there, nothing here, thankfully, by the looks of it, and we've got one here which looks like it's all joined together, so I don't really need to do anything to that one. But I am going to need to join this one to over here. You can just see the little bit of it poking out at the end of my tweezers there. And then there's obviously going to be a bit poking out here as well. We're going to have to get to that. So we've got more scrapety scrape to do. The question is, do I do that with the Dremel or I do it with a scalpel? I think probably the scalpel at this stage. Trouble getting this where I want it. Trouble. I'm having trouble. Classic line by RoboCop. I'm having trouble. Getting the Dremel out again. Hello to name I can't pronounce. I recapped the Friends Classic 2 a year ago. It had fairly heavy corrosion around egret. Now the A to B suddenly doesn't work. Would you say anything against the dishwasher? It's not my first choice, but I hear plenty of people who have used the dishwasher and have not had any problems with it. What I would recommend is that if they are going to use the dishwasher, don't use any detergent. Put it in the dishwasher for a cycle without any detergent in there. When you take it out, rinse it thoroughly with distilled water. Get a little tub of distilled water. Distilled water is super cheap. Get a little tub of it. Put the board in there. Swizzle it around. Get rid of all of the excess, anything left behind by the tap water in the dishwasher. Give it a good wash with distilled water and then dry it out thoroughly. That would be what I would recommend if the dishwasher is the only option. It's not my first choice. Ithia. Hello, Ithia. Thank you very much for joining. So, yeah. Who pays $3,000 for a video card? I mean, really, you could buy a nice Apple rug for that. Who are we making fun of there? Right, so to anyone who is not aware of what I am talking about what we are talking about when we talk about a $3,000 rug, jump onto Computer Clan, the old crazy Ken from Computer Clan. Jump onto his channel and check out his latest video. It is worth a look for the old vintage Mac collectors out there. Okay, just turning the volume down again. Going to get quiet. Quiet for the drummer. Horrible noise. Horrible noise. And volume back up again. Vintage Apple logo rug. So, okay. So yeah, there was, Ken did this. Ken is very much into Crazy Ken from what do we call it? Computer Clan. He does quite a lot of scam videos. And he became aware of someone on eBay selling a inverted commas vintage Apple rug for $3,000. And he did a little bit of research and found the rug weren't so vintage. If you start calling something that is not rare and not vintage, vintage and rare, you officially start becoming a scammer. Whether this person likes to be referred to as scammer or not, it's not up to them anymore. Okay, this is something else, I'll tell you. So I realise you're not going to be able to see much of this. I'm hogging a lot of the camera with my great big fat fingers. Okay. I just don't like how close that is there. Let's clean them out a little bit. Doesn't the ISO make everything look nice? Eh? All shiny. Uh, yes, I would like actually to shout out to everyone as well. Tell them that Bruce of Branches Creations also says hi to anyone at VCF. Sorry I can't be there, but I'm in a whole nother country. Okay, we're actually going to be ready for doing a little bit of soldering soon. Feeling pretty good about this. One area that I'm a little bit sus about. Oh, well, look at that nice bit of heatsink goo floating around there. Someone's going to have a bit of fun putting all that back together. Anyhow, yeah, okay. Is just here, I'm just worried about... Whoopsie. The ground plane next to these traces, but we will check all that. Right, now, beepity beep machine time. We're going to make sure that we have got proper insulation between things before I now start going to the next step. I'm going to make sure things aren't touching. So I need to make sure that this trace here is not making contact with ground. It's not. That's ground. That's ground. So I'm just going to, I've got my thing here on ground. You can't see it. My other probe is on ground. So beep, beep, beep. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Whoop. Yeah, no, that's good. That was just me touching the little furly bit up the top there. So we're looking good. All right. So next step now, we've got to go in and start creating some insulation in here. And we're going to be doing that with our UV solder mask. And this is going to be multiple layers. I'll just make an effort to just ignore. Oh, sorry, I'll just better go up here. Are people saying nasty things about 8-bit guy? I have to admit, I'm not much of a fan. It's not. I mean, you know, he's doing interesting stuff. It's all fine, but I just I don't get really kind of drawn into his shows very well. I mean, when I sit down and watch some of the channels, some of the people that are here today, I sit down and watch their videos and I'm just riveted. I just tend not to find that's happening when I'm watching the 8-bit guy. I don't know if it's because of that monotonal voice, but I don't know. Good luck though. Good luck on his success. I think he's done incredibly well. He's got lots of subscribers. He's turned what he's doing into a full-time business. That's great. I have no issue with that whatsoever. But as I say, it's just not necessarily something I particularly want to watch. Okay, so we've got our nice little crater here at the moment. Now we're going to start hitting it with some UV solder mask. Now, as I mentioned before, I don't need to do anything about this hole on the bottom because it's just a flat plane of copper that's got a hole in it. The electrons will just find their way around. Are there similar shows in Australia? I believe there are. I have never been to any, believe it or not. At the moment, because we're all in lockdown because of the COVID, there's not really much going on at all. So, but there are, I believe, some other shows around. There was, I think, a show just in Adelaide recently, a vintage computer show. Not sure necessarily if there are ones that are 100% Apple, but and of course you're not likely to pick up bargains and stuff either because there aren't as many of these devices and stuff here in Australia, so they're always going for expensive. Always for expensive. Right, so I've got my UV solder mask here. This is stuff that you can basically just buy in a syringe. I then put it in a little container. Just find it easier so I can paint it on. And what we're going to do is we're just going to, it's probably a bit more than I needed, but never mind. We're just going to provide some insulation. I might take a little bit of that out. I'm just doing that now. I'd rather work in several small layers than one big one because it ensures that I will get it dry. I'll get it nice and dry. Okay, so we've got a nice little glob in there, and then we're going to get our laser beam laser, which goes, how does it go? Pew, 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 pew. This is my laser here, and it is a UV laser. It shoots out UV light. And just a little tip for anyone, if you're shining that UV light around, don't shine it directly at a webcam. It will damage it. Don't ask me how I know that. Oopsie. God, I hate this green stuff. I should put gloves on. What am I doing? What am I doing? What are you doing, Rain? Okay. Couple of gloves here to protect my hands. How ultra that violet is. Yes, it's... I used to know all this information. It might even be in the description. I can't remember, but there's a particular type of UV laser. When you buy them, they do actually say what the wavelength is. And I can't remember the number. It's such a long time since I bought these. I bought 2 at the one time because I generally buy 2 of everything when I buy these things, because if one of them breaks down, I can't wait for a replacement to arrive. So, of course, the great thing, the thing I could do today is I could just go and put this out in the sun. But I can't take all the cameras and stuff out there, so we'll be using the laser. The sun actually is probably the best UV light for. Oh wow, isn't it? How bright's that? It's actually making the what do you call it? The what do you call that stuff? The actual board itself. It's making it glow. Got to wait until this is absolutely and totally, completely, and in all other ways dry. This needs to be bone dry before I start doing stuff on top of it. How do you know? Brankus Creations, but how do you know? Sorry, what is that in reference to? What do I know? How do I know? I know nothing. Right, now let's check and see if that is dry. I'm going to do that by poking it. Same way that Ernie from Bert and Ernie checks to see if Bert is asleep. Poke, 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 poke. I've got to be careful with this thing. If this laser dot focuses at a certain size, it is powerful enough to burn things. And so if I just happen to switch it on and not look at where the dot is going, I can suddenly find myself burning things at the other end. Now that seems pretty dry. I mean, that seems pretty solid. I might just hit it with a little bit of hot air. Right. Step number 2, we're actually going to do what the video was saying. We're actually going to do some trace repair. I've got to decide what size wire I'm going to use. I've got this super thin stuff. And then I've got this, or is this the super thin stuff? No, hang on. Is this the super thin stuff? I can't remember. At this magnification, could be either. We'll put them next to each other and figure it out. One of them's 34 AWG, one of them's 40 AWG. So this is the super thin stuff. This is the 40 AWG. 40 American wire gauge. Now I actually think the next size up will probably be better suited for the size of these traces. So that's going to be this little guy. Whoopsie. There. We're going to run that trace across from there to there. So let's get some fluxarooning. It does cure fast. That's the main reason why we use it. See, I mean, I have other goo that I use here. I've got a thing called conformal coating, which is kind of like a clear. It's a clear stuff. It's like a clear nail polish almost. But this stuff takes hours to dry. Whereas this stuff here, you just put it on, you hit it with UV light, bang, done, move on to the next layer. Now, you know what I'm going to use here today? Jay, you'll be very pleased to hear that. I am going to use my micro pencil. This is something that Jay recommended for me to buy, and I'm like, I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. Eventually, I got one because I end up getting these Amazon gift vouchers, you see. And so I was like, I had this gift voucher for Amazon, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to buy? What am I going to spend it on? I always like to spend it on things for the channel. And Jay said, get yourself a micro pencil. So I did, and it arrived, and it's bloody awesome. And I'm saying to Jay, why didn't you talk me into buying this earlier? I like to try and find ways to blame Jay for my mistakes. Just got to get this one out of the way. There we go. All right, so switch this guy on. So this is my little micro pencil here. I'll just move this UV mask out of the way for now. Come back to it later. Covered in green gunk. Covered in green gunk. It is basically just an attachment for my Hacko, and as you can see, it's a smaller handle, and it just has this incredibly small little tip on the end of it. But what is incredible about this is the amount of heat that comes out of that tiny, weeny little tip. And until you have used one, you can't know how good these things are. Okay, so we need to get a little bit of solder. Not much, but just a little bit of solder onto. Oh, Steve's sending pictures. This is Steve Mac 84. He's sending pictures and I can't look at them. He's probably sending pictures of interesting things to the Mac Yackers. I need to do a little bit of trickery here. This is flipped up. There we go. Oh, I lost a bit. I've got almost nothing to solder onto now. That's a pain. That's a pain. I wonder if I can make a little bit more space here. I don't have anything to put the micro pencil in. Let's see if I can push a little bit of this copper back a little bit further. You know, this sort of thing that I'm doing at the moment, when you watch someone else doing it, it's painful. Because you're watching it happen, you're watching someone else do it, and you're thinking, oh, you know. I know I find this when I'm watching Steve do this stuff. I'm just sitting there going, oh, just do it there, do it there. No, not there, just do it there. And as I do this now, I hope that you guys aren't suffering those same sorts of feelings watching me do this. And feeling like, oh, no, look what's happening. No, don't do that. I just, so, if anyone is feeling that at the moment, I just want to apologise. Okay, I think I've got myself enough space for safety. So I just need to expose a little bit of copper here, and then I shall be a little bit more careful when I put solder on this. Sorry about the blur. About to use wick here. Solder pencils aren't very good for wick. Right. Right, let's see if we can do this. Okay. Have I got enough to get a wire attached to that last little piece of copper there? I've got to stop playing with it. I think I'll just make it worse if I keep playing with it. So, next step. This is probably going to be the trickiest part. So, yay. Oh, don't do it with your left hand, you clown. Sorry, I just want to lift up this corner here a little bit more. Shit. Don't want to do the whole, what do you call it, the pliers across the surface of the board thing that our friend from Dana Does Stuff. Where is Dana? Huh? I just keep losing more and more of this one. I dig up more and then I lose more, and then I dig up more and then I lose more. And it is driving me bonkers. Man, this is just killing me. How can I have... the others have been so easy by comparison to this one. It must be just a really, really thin trace. God, is it going to be enough? Is it going to be enough? Hey, brunches. Are you hungry? Someone wants some brunch. Would that be... Tapapa'u? Would I be pronouncing your name right? Tapapa'u? Okay, come on. Come on. It's just this one little one here that's giving me grief. Just want to expose a tiny bit more copper without destroying the thing. Okay, I think we've got enough now. Phew! Phew, I say. Typo. Typo is allowed. Done a few of those myself. Right, so we're going to get a little bit of copper on that again. Hopefully that's enough. And now we're going to start. God, it's not good, is it? I decided to go with the 34 for this one, the slightly thicker wire. I'm just going to get a little piece. I don't need much here, because if I have too much, it's going to just roll around the joint. So I'll start off with a small bit. That's a huge bit. So I see Dana happily responding to text messages, but not here on my live stream. I'll tell you what, some people. This is tricky, man. Well, I suppose I did call it, didn't I call this live stream a tricky trace repair? Well, it's living up to its name, that's for sure. Just want to get the end of that flat. Little bit of solder on the tip. I'll just get some. Okay. What do you think? Is the wire too thick? Should I go for something a little bit thinner? I'm eating dinner. Better not be. Better not be. I feel like I've chosen a too large wire for this job. But, you know. How much flux do we need? Just enough. That's how much. Just enough. Okay. Well, that's joined. How does everyone feel about that? And we can check it with our beepity beep beep machine. Sort of. I can't really check it that well. I suppose I can give it a bit of a nudge. Let's find the black probe. I've only got the red probe. Here's the black probe. So we are obviously, the main thing is I don't want it to be in contact with ground, and it's not. But we do want it to be contact from there to there. Well, I have to switch the thing on. So I've switched it on now. It'll make a bit of noise. So checking that it's not in contact with ground. Good. And and obviously getting to the other side there. Now, this next one is going to be interesting because I've got to put this on without making that other one go away. That is always a challenge. Dane is now watching, but too lazy to type. He'd like to know how this card got damaged. It is referred to as long screw damage. So basically what happened is the person installed this in a computer and then they tightened something up, some sort of screw in some other part of the computer, and the screws went through too far and damaged and left little gaping holes in here. And those little holes have gone through, in this instance, 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of copper in this board. We are currently, the bottom layer is okay. The next one up is what we're working on at the moment. Then the next layer up is okay. And then we will then finally have to repair the top layer. Oh, I want a straight bit. It's not straight. I want a straight bit. I really should have used the thinner stuff, shouldn't I? Okay, thank you for joining from Turkey, and sorry I've forgotten your name again, as in the correct way to pronounce it, and that is not personal, that is just because my brain works that way. It doesn't store things like that terribly well. I did pronounce it correctly at one stage, so, you know, that's something. But thank you for joining, and I quite understand it is getting late in certain parts of the world. So, oh, bother. So what I'm doing at the moment, you may not even be able to see what I'm doing at the moment, but I am just burning away the coating on this wire, because this wire does actually have an enamel coating. For what I'm doing at the moment, I could just use wire that doesn't have an enamel coating, but I don't have any, so hitherto, henceforth, schnooks. Have I wrecked it? We'll soon see. Okay. Okie dokie. Okay. Is everyone okay? I'm freaking out a bit. Oh, is that the piece I lost before? Crap. Let's come away at the other side. Need more solder. Oops. Okay. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Okay. Well, that, I believe, is joined. Whew, I can start running again now. Poof. Are you using just the right pressure on your scalpel? So yeah, I am. It is sharp from start to finish of the blade, of equal sharpness. But yes, I'm just using different amounts of pressure to get what I want from it. So, all right. Well, these both appear to be joined now. So the next step we need to do is mask this lot off. So I've got to clean it, of course. There's no point in putting mask on with all this flux there. It will just, it will not stick. What I would really like is if I could find my spray can where I can spray in there. And I probably should ultrasonically clean it to get rid of all this gunk. But we'll see if we can do it just with a little bit of flux remover. And a fair bit of care. So it's not like I can just get a, you know, what do you call it, a toothbrush in there and give it a scrub. I mean, it'll fall apart. So I've got to try and clean this out as best as I can without losing anything. Woo! David Skywalker, hi from my house. Hi from my house as well. Actually, this is sort of more of my shed than my house. I don't live in here. I spend a lot of my bloody time in here, but I don't actually live in here. Okay, I'm going to tip this up a little bit. I'm going to drown it in this fluid, try and wash it away. So I do have an aerosol floating around here somewhere that has a little nozzle on it, which I can then spray flux remover. And although it's not the best sort of flux remover, because it's aerosol and it comes out as a jet, you can actually use it sometimes to wash things out. But I don't know where the bloody thing is. I mean, I can buy another one very readily. It's just, I can buy it from a place just up the road, but I just can't do it now. I mean, I've put it somewhere safe. I just don't know where. We're getting there. We're getting there. I think it still needs a little bit more cleaning, but I feel like we're a hell of a lot cleaner than we were. Just keeping an eye on the chat here, folks. Oh, we're sitting at 38 people at the moment. Thank you everyone for joining. If you have joined and haven't said hello, please feel free to say hello. If you have said hello and I didn't say hello back, it is nothing personal. I'm just doing a lot of concentrate-y type stuff at the moment. I am missing things. So everyone who is here at the moment, I do thank you all for joining. I hope this is at least a little bit entertaining. I know it's tedious, but on the bright side, I believe the second one is going to be a lot easier than this one. I'd be so happy if I could find that spray can. Should I look for it? Shall I? Shall I look for it? I could always spray a bit of WD-40 on it. Not sure if that'd help though. What about Windex? Bit of Windex on there? Never know. Could be good. Hey, you're not meant to be out, Mr. Chicken. Shouldn't really call it a mister. It is a Mrs. Or a miss. Would you like to see? Would you like to meet her? I'll go get the chicken and I'll show you the chicken. Won't be a second. Hello, Chook. There we go. We're going to come in and say hello to the folks. This is the chicken. Hello. Anyhow, I'm going to go take this chicken back to its... This is not Bernadette. This one kind of doesn't have a name. Bill or Ben. Okay, going to put you back in your enclosure. Just checking to see if the spray might be out here. Anything's possible. No, I think I will have to buy some more. Okay, we'll have to buy some more of that spray in the future because today is a day when I really wish I had it. And I don't have it, and that's that. So, I hope you all enjoyed the chook there. So we bought a bunch of chickens just recently, and there were 3. That's an Australorp hybrid, that one. So it's an Australorp mixed with, I think, probably an Isa Brown or something like that. And then we got a pure Australorp. They're quite expensive. And so we got kind of 3 that are very dark all at the one time. One of them's really big, so I called that one kind of Goliath. And then that one, I think we're clean enough for mask now. They're looking pretty clean. Looking good. And then that one, and then the other 2 black ones are about the same size, so I called them Bill and Ben. So Dana is here. Hello. I hereby name that chicken Alex. Why Alex? Just wondering why Alex. All right. So. Okay. Okay, here's my mask. I got it. So now we're going to do a little bit more coating. Get microscope view here. This is what we've been doing. There we go. Right. So, painty. Once again, probably got a bit too much here. I'm happy with the amount that I have, but I'm not happy with how easy it's going to be to get that to dry well because it's so thick. So what I'll do is probably just take a little bit off, then I might run another layer afterwards. Okay. Alex A and Alex B. Good. Because the other thing is I do need to consult with my wife. I can't name these things all by myself. Because they are our chickens, not just mine. God, it's warm in here. 28 degrees outside. I do have the AC here. I haven't fired it up since last summer. Just keep in mind with the old chickens, I know people always make jokes about, oh, it's dinner, oh yeah, it was a yum, yeah, it's dinner. Just remember that if you eat a chicken, you get 1 meal. If you look after it, you get meals for years, as long as you don't mind eggs, that is. And I love eggs, fresh chicken eggs, man, they are just the best thing. Because one of the things that a lot of people aren't aware of is that the eggs that you get in the supermarket are often months old by the time they make it to the shelves. So for instance, if you're wanting to do poaching eggs, when you poach eggs, to get a really good poached egg, you want a nice fresh egg. because what ends up with a fresh egg, the albumin or the white, is usually a lot harder, holds together. So when you drop the egg into the water to poach it, it holds together like, you know, it ends up looking, it sits in the water like like a piece of, you know, buffalo mozzarella or something like that. And when you get the supermarket eggs, as they get older, the albumin gets a lot more watery. And when they say poach eggs, make sure you poach fresh eggs, get fresh eggs. So you go in there, you go to the supermarket, you grab your carton of eggs, you look for the freshest ones you can find, and they're still watery. And the reason is that they often take, as I say, they can take months from when they go from chicken to the supermarket shelves. But of course, when you have fresh eggs like this, you know, I can basically go from, you know, sort of go from the coop into the frying pan, you know, sort of in the same day, and you get the most amazing eggs. They're a different colour because of the way they're fed, and, you know, because they get to move around in free range. The eggs are just so much better when they're fresh. I cannot even begin to tell you. So, yeah, that's just something I thought I would mention to folks. How do I prefer my eggs? Me, perfectly. Probably the way I like them the most is unfertilised. I think they're usually much nicer. But yeah, I'm a big fan of scrambled. Actually, to be honest, I like all of them. I love making a fried egg and bacon sandwich or roll. You know, get a bun or something like that, and get some like you can buy this like caramelized onion relish and some bit of cheese and some barbecue sauce with a fried onion, where it's still, the yolk is still runny, and some you know, some fried bacon. Oh, that is just to die for. But I also love scrambled eggs, and I cook them mean scrambled eggs, I've got to say. But of course, I also love poached. I mean, that's why I mentioned it in the first place. I love poached eggs. Okay. So we've got two things that we're doing here at the moment. One thing is we are providing insulation with this UV solder mask. The other thing that we are doing is we're providing protection. We're going to make sure that these repairs can't be easily damaged because they've got this coating on top of it. Right, let's add another layer. I definitely think we need another layer here. I'm glad food exists. Me too. Now, obviously I'm sitting here talking about chickens and cooking eggs and stuff like that at the moment, but if anyone has any questions about anything else that they might want to ask me, I'm always happy to answer if I see the question there, whether it be something about vintage computers, or whether it be something about soldering or soldering irons or repairs or whatever the case may be. Always happy to... Oh look, Steve's tweezers. Sorry, that's a little in-joke for anyone who's watched any of Steve's live streams. Get rid of... There's a little hair in this here. I just wanted to get rid of it. Now I'm making a mess. Michael's Workshop, hello. Thank you for joining. What brand of cleaner do you use in your ultrasonic cleaner? That is actually a very good question. Now, one of the big problems is that I buy it from a local provider here in Australia. There's a company called CleanTech. They're in Queensland, which is the state above us, or north of us. Yeah, they're called CleanTech, and they make a variety of ultrasonic cleaning fluids, and I use one that they make, and it's called... can't remember. There is actually... there might even be a link to it, but... what's it called? Electro or something like that. Electro. But anyhow, it's not really that important, because it's not, if you're not in Australia, it's not what you're going to want to use, because it's very expensive to get it imported. What I hear people use in the States is a product called Branson EC. As I say, I don't use that. I use this CleanTech Electro or whatever it's called, and I swear by it. I think the stuff is absolutely fantastic. I would be really bummed if I wasn't able to buy it anymore. You know, it's great stuff, and it dilutes. I think I put it in 1 to 5 or something like that. So I put 1 part of the cleaner and I think 5 parts distilled water, something like that. Yeah, it's really, really good. It's very good at dissolving the flux and getting rid of the flux without actually doing any damage to the board. I got some stuff, recommendation by Paul Daniels. I'm not sure if anyone knows Paul Daniels. He's sort of like the Australian version of Lewis Rossman. He does MacBook, you know, mainly MacBook laptop repairs and a few phone repairs. Has a live stream that he often streams in my time quite late at night, so probably early morning in the US. He sort of said, "Oh yeah, I use this stuff called what's it called? Got a bottle of it somewhere. It'll come to me." But anyhow, I tried it, and it just did terrible things to the boards I was putting in there. You know, when I put them in, they'd come out, all of the solder joints were all kind of grey rather than being shiny anymore. And I just did not like that at all. The boards end up coming out clean, sure, but just looking really ugly. So I don't like using that. Ambersil, that was the name of the liquid that he recommended, Ambersil. And as I say, I bought some, tried it, don't like it. So I'm sticking to my Clean Tech Electro stuff. It's the business. Let's use Branson E3. Very good results on flux removal, was easy to get in the US. Yeah, I was actually going to buy some to do a comparison. I was going to do a comparison of different ultrasonic cleaning fluids, do a video of that. But the cost of actually getting Branson EC out here is ridiculous, because it's not just a matter of, because it's a chemical, you know, it's like this, you know, it requires like really expensive delivery. You know, it was going to cost me like $100 or something to get the thing, to get one little bottle shipped out here. And I was like, no, I don't want to do the video that much. I think this third layer will probably be all we need. I don't think we'll need a fourth. Then we can start putting the other traces on top. Did you test repaired traces for continuity? Well, I did to the best of my ability. And the problem is that those little traces that are poking out like that, I don't know where they go at the other end. So I couldn't test them really from their furthest point. So all I could really do is test from my solder joints, which isn't really a proper test. But, you know, from my perspective, just looking at the visual, you know, sort of the visual repair, I was pretty comfortable with the way it was looking. So I'm feeling reasonably confident. There's no way I can be 100% confident unless I had like a Gerber file for this, where I could actually go in and have a look exactly where that trace goes and then measure it at another location. But as I don't have that, there's really not much I can do. Or if I could X-ray it, I suppose, if I could X-ray it and follow where the trace goes to. But I don't have an X-ray. Just want to pinpoint this a little bit more. There we go. You can buy these UV flashlights, or torches as we call them here, that are quite powerful. And I've seen people using them where they just switch the flashlight on and then just lie it on top of the repair. They just sort of sit the torch or flashlight just facing down with UV shining on that, and you just walk away and then come back. I would actually like to do that. I just need to find one of those really good quality UV flashlights. iMac G3 and eMac G4 needs recap. iMac G3 generally do have some problems with power supplies, I think, and I think they often have problems with the flyback transformers as well. We need Steve Mac84 here for that. He's the expert on those. eMacs, I think almost definitely. I think eMacs do have lots of problems with capacitors, so I think eMacs do need help. But we've probably got other people in the chat that can know more about that. I mean, my expertise tends to stop around about the end of the beige era. So I'm not I'm not really the best person to ask about that. Let's get a little pokey poke here and see how this is looking. That seems pretty solid, doesn't it? Generally, if you push down on an area that hasn't dried properly, it cracks on the surface and then mask leaks out underneath. We don't seem to be getting that, so I'm feeling pretty good. I can always leave this out in the sun afterwards. Halogen puts out a ton of UV. Some spare UV LEDs, so I wired them up through USB cable for that purpose. Yeah, I've actually got a UV globe here, which that's can you see it there? If I'm in a situation where I've done a board where I've got UV mask all over the thing and I can't be bothered sitting there poking it with a laser in all the different locations, I just switch this thing on, I put the board under it and I walk away. Even if it takes a few hours, I'll go and do something else and then come back and finish it afterwards. Obviously it's not what I use for the live streams. I use the laser so that I can do things as quickly as possible so we can keep moving. Right, which is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to keep moving. So let's get all of this spaghetti over here and see if we can... Nope, can't salvage that. Can we salvage this one? Sort of. How about this one? Oh. That one's gone. He's gone. He's gone. Actually, despite me saying he's gone, he's refusing to go. I'm just going to chop these off. Chop them. I just think it'll be easier in the long run to not be dealing with these dingly dangly bits. For those who have been watching right from the beginning, the fourth trace, this one here, was not actually damaged. I broke that one so that I had more room to work. But given the fact that repairing a trace like this is the easiest part of this whole job, I really had no issue with breaking them at all. Depending on how long this takes, this might be the only thing I end up doing today. If I get the other side done reasonably quickly, I might just do one other little thing in this live stream. How long have we been going for? 2 hours. I really should be coming from that way. Okay, there. Just going to expose some more copper here for me to attach my trace repair onto. This, I mentioned before, this UV mask on these traces is actually really thick and hard. So it's quite a job getting the copper exposed. Anyone like that scratchy noise? Anyone enjoying it? Probably need a new scalpel soon. How's this one looking? Oh, still looks okay. I don't normally do this. I'm gouging at the moment rather than scraping. I don't like to gouge, but this stuff is just so freaking stubborn. It is a very controlled gouge, let's just say that. Do you have a way to test it? No, I do not. I don't have anything. I mean, I could probably plug it into my classic Mac Pro, but this thing has, I don't have, what do you call it, the Pixeless mod done to my Mac Pro. I mean, this wouldn't even fit in. It would hang out, I think. And it's got 3 4-pin power connectors. Well, I don't have 3 4-pin power connectors in my Mac. So, no, I think the short answer is no. I don't have any way of testing this. And for that, I apologise to everyone watching who might be thinking, oh, how are we ever going to know if this is going to work? Well, you're going to know when I send it back to the guy and he tells me if it works. I'll tell him not to wreck it again. Given what you're seeing here, I'm just curious what people think. What do you reckon would be a suitable price to charge for the work that I'm doing at the moment? You guys have been watching what I've been doing. What do you reckon? What do you reckon's a suitable amount to say, hey, yeah, this is a reasonable amount to charge? Keeping in mind, of course, you know, it's a different story to like when I'm working with the vintage Macs. A lot of those aren't worth that much to start off with, so it's hard for me to then turn around and say, hey, this is going to be hundreds of dollars, because it's like, well, it's, you know, this computer's not even worth it. I'm just curious about what people think a repair like this should be worth. If you had a card like this and you were getting a repair like this done by someone, what would you expect to pay for it? It's not necessarily what I'm going to charge, but I'm just curious to see what other people think. I think it's time for a new blade. I've really worn down the tip on this one. 2 hours of microsearching. $1 million. I don't know what you normally charge for a trace repair. This is very true, but that's not actually what I'm asking. I'm not asking what you know, sort of what you think I would charge. I'm asking what would you expect to pay if this was a repair that you had done by someone. Just imagine that, you know, you've got this board, you sent it to someone to do this, and you know, and then they come back with the bill, and you look at the bill and you go, oh yeah, you know, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I can accept that. I'm going to accept that amount based on what's been done here. That's what I'm just curious about. Geez, the new blade made a difference. At least 300 would be my guess. 20% of its value. That'd be nice. Well, that'd be good. You just charge repairs based on what something's worth. Right, now here comes the easy, in quotes, bit. I do this for fun, so my rate's a basement. Yeah, I quite understand where you're coming from there, Joe. I mean, to some extent, I have a little bit of that myself. In particular, if I'm doing something like this on a live stream where I have got content, something like this provides me with some viewable content. And you know what? A video like this may well end up getting rewatch stuff. A lot of my live streams, I'll maybe get about 1,000 people, 1,000 views, something like that. But something like this, because it's trace repair, where you might have people that are investigating trace repair, they might go in and watch this in the future. Okay, so now we just got to run some wires from hither to thither. Wires. Ah, here we are. Here's one. Here's a little bit. It's at least a starting point. One wire. Can you think a case of Crownie? Foster's not accepted as currency in AU. This is very true. This is very true. Foster's is a kind of a beer that is associated with Australia, but not that many Australians actually drink Foster's. It's mainly the tourists that drink that. Certainly here in New South Wales, probably the most common one would be either Victoria Bitter, VB, or perhaps Tooheys. I'm a Tooheys person. I like a bit of a Tooheys. In Melbourne, I think their main choice down there is Melbourne Bitter. I think that's the one that's the popular one down there, but certainly not Foster's. But yes, having said that, it is a very common thing in this country when you are doing something a little bit special. Maybe you're putting on the beers for your work colleagues or something like that. It's common for people to use Crown Lager as a currency. It's generally regarded as a slightly more fancy beer than some of the others. So it's not at all uncommon to say, there's a case of Crownie in it for you. I'm not a big fan of Crown Lager, to be honest, but I do accept that it is generally a currency out here. If you are out here and you like a good quality beer, so for instance, one of the US beers that I quite like is Sam Adams. But if you're in Australia and you're looking for a good quality beer, and what I mean by that is a beer, first of all, an ale, and one that has actually been fermented in secondary fermentation in the bottle. So it actually has a little bit of yeast sediment at the bottom, which means, of course, they generally improve with age, but they last a lot longer, and they're a lot more beery flavour. So if you're a good fan of beer and you're out here and you're wondering what to grab, my recommendation would be to grab Cooper's. Cooper's make, in my opinion, a very damn fine beer. One of my favourites. I also like Fat Yak. Fat Yak's a beer that I enjoy. Slab of Cooper's Red for sure. Yep. To be honest, I quite like the Cooper's Green as well, the pale ale, or as I sometimes refer to it, Cooper's Mint, because it's green. It doesn't taste like mint. It's just because it's green. The bottle is green. Oh, and yes, that's another thing someone has just pointed out there, Patrick. You could always make your own too. Yes, and I used to do that. There was a time where I was just religiously making my own beer. I possibly even still have one of those big old vats floating around somewhere. But yes, I used to do that all the time. But it just got I just ran out of time. It's a time-consuming hobby to do it properly. Right. Okay. So we're all joined in on one side, and then we're going to flip a Rooney. And we're going to join on the other side. Won't that be nice? Okay, starting from the top. I think you need a little bit more sutter. I'll use stupid little so and so. I'm going to come back and clean these up a little bit. I'm not happy with the joints here, but I want to just get them in place first. It will just make the next part easier. Okay. Right, so they're in place now, but they're not soldered particularly well. So, all 4X here in Queensland. I forgot to mention, I mentioned New South Wales and Victoria, but in Queensland, yeah, the 4X is the chosen drop. when I do this on my live stream, what I'm doing at the moment, where I'm cutting this here, people lose their freaking minds in the chat and stuff like that, or in the comments. They're like, you shouldn't cut down with a scalpel, you're going to damage the trace underneath it. But as you can see, I still do it, so I'm confident that I'm not going to damage the trace underneath it. Phew, I'm getting hot. It's 28 degrees outside. Right, so what I need to do now is I need to just make sure that these joints are a little bit more secure. So I'm going to start from the top down. I'm going to get a little bit extra solder on the tip here. I'm going to get the old tweezers here to hold them in position, and I'm going to keep doing this until I've got what I consider to be a nice happy joint. That's more like it. So you can see that the whole thing is coated in solder. Stay still. I want this in the middle. It'll bother me if it's not in the middle. I'm just having trouble getting it in the middle. Stay. Fudge. This is starting to hurt my fingers. It's getting a bit warm. Okay, that will do. Yeah, doesn't that look delicious? After a while, I'm going to actually show you what this looks like at scale, because what we're actually dealing with here is just insanely small. So let's get some more of that flux cleaner. I had some here. Did I put the bottle away? There it is. Is amber good flux? I couldn't tell you. One of the things that you got to keep in mind, in particular with you know, sort of being out here in Australia, I don't necessarily get exposed to as many. So I've tried a few different fluxes. I've basically come down to two that I like. One of them is the Amtech NC599V2TF. This is designed for leaded solder, which is what I use. But if you are using lead-free solder, you might want to go for a different flux. The other one is, was it Intertech or Fluxtech or something like that? I've got a tube floating around here. I'll grab it in a minute. That's one that I can buy locally if I have trouble, because I can't get Amtech in Australia. I have to import it from overseas. But if I can't get the Amtech, or if I'm in a, you know, if I'm desperate and I need some flux, I do have another one that I can use. That I like the result. It doesn't smell as nice as the Amtech. The Amtech's kind of a nice, pleasant smell when you're working with it. But the other one is a good quality flux. I'm happy with it. Michael, hello. You don't want to see Michael J. Fox says, that's a bit mean. That's a little bit mean. Poor Michael. Poor Michael. So I'm just getting this flux off so that I can then coat it with a bit of UV mask. To be honest, at this stage, you could probably wait till it's been in the ultrasonic cleaner, because I'm not putting any more layers on top of this. This is the last layer. So just a reminder, a recap for anyone who is joining recently. We've basically got here an Nvidia RTX 3090 that someone sent me. They accidentally, when they were installing it in their computer, didn't realize, but they were screwing something else in that was near this, and the screws went all the way through and damaged. In this instance, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 4 separate layers of the board. 2 of those layers were just ground planes, but one of those did actually carry traces. So we had to repair traces. You can actually see them underneath. Those shiny bits, those two shiny bits shining up there underneath those, they're 2 trace repairs underneath on one of the lower layers. and then we've got these 4 trace repairs on top. I can't test this, unfortunately. I'm very annoyed about that, but I will not be able to test this. So I am going to have to just clean it up as best as I can, make it as good as I can, and then send it back to the customer with a great big caveat saying, look, I think I've done it, but I can't make any promises. I do not believe that when it goes back it's going to blow up or anything like that. Antec smells like bacon fat without the smoke. Do you reckon? It smells to me like some sort of artificial smell, like some sort of perfume smell. I feel like they put something in it to try and make it smell nicer. Right. How's this looking now? That's pretty clean. I reckon I can probably UV mask that. Come on. Come on, Fluff. Don't do this to me. I've got more flux on it again now. Now, if Jay were watching, he would be giving me grief about using these cotton buds or Q-tips that are leaving this fluff behind. Because he uses ones that are more of a sponge type material that don't leave residue behind. And I have to admit, right at this particular moment, I would like to be using those. Jay is watching, look at that. He's lurking. I just say things like that every now and again to keep him on his toes. Actually, can I just quickly mention that Jay has the awesome website appleserialnumberinfo.com. Jay, please feel free to put a link in. Every month he has a Mac of the Month competition. Well, it's not really a competition, it's a vote, it's a poll. And if you jump onto appleserialnumberinfo.com, go in and vote for whichever Mac you want. It's an interesting choice this time. There's nothing, I'm not going to try and sway the vote one way or another because I'm not sure if there's any there that I would particularly deem my favourites. But yeah, jump on and have a look. Do your little votey thing. Jay wants you to vote iMac G3, so how about that? Jay's a bit of a G3 fan. Okay, and I should also mention Jay from the House of Moth, his awesome YouTube channel, he's hovering around about the 900 and something subscribers, and he is having a giveaway at 1,000 subscribers. So you hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, Jay, and then the next thing you know, he is giving away a MacBook Pro. Don't get too excited, it's an Intel Core 2 Duo, but it's still a MacBook Pro. Yeah, jump on, check out the video, see what you need to do in order to in order to enter the competition, and you could be the proud owner of a MacBook Pro. I think it's a 13-inch from memory. When should gummy flux paste be used? Now, I'm not sure what you're referring to with gummy flux paste. You're referring to like things like the rosiny type stuff like this like kind of rosin, Dr. Rosin, this sort of stuff, this kind of flux like that. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to. I tend not to use that sort of flux at all, but it is fine depending on what you're doing. The sort of soldering that I tend to do, I do tend to use a no clean flux gel. I just find them a lot easier to work with. So, do you use a Barlow lens? Yes, I do. I didn't have a Barlow when I first bought this. I didn't have a Barlow lens. I worked without a Barlow lens for a really long time. Then when I was actually chatting to Jay from House of Moth, who we just mentioned, he was talking about how the fact he has the Barlow lens, and he was like, oh, it gives you more space to work underneath, and it does. It allows the head to be raised slightly higher, so you've got more room to move underneath. And that was quite nice. I mean, it wasn't something that I was like, oh, desperate for more space, but I did notice it when I changed. I definitely did notice and did enjoy having that little bit of extra space. So I'm just mentioning that. So my recommendation would probably be, yes, get the Barlow lens, because you will have more space to work underneath the microscope. And my one is a... Jay, what's my one? It's the one that you've got. Yes, this is UV activated solder mask. It's a UV solder mask often referred to. Yeah, so this is answering Cameron. So this is UV solder mask. You can basically just buy it if you just jump onto eBay or something like that. There are links to it in my description at Amazon, but if you just jump on eBay or something, or even just onto Google and just type for UV solder mask, it generally comes in syringes like this. And it is just this green goo, this kind of pretty gross, and it sticks to everything and all that. But you then hit it with UV light, and what I've got here at the moment is a little UV laser. Pew pew, a UV laser, I just shine it on here, and it just cures it. It makes it go hard very, very quickly. And then I will probably do another coating on this. I won't do another coat now. I'll do a little bit later. But that's the main reason I'm putting this coat on now, is just to protect it from any damage while I work on the rest of this board. In terms of giving it a really good coating, I'll do that afterwards. It's not really necessary for me to do that now. So there is quite a lot of UV coating on this now as part of this repair. I'm just going to change my gloves. These ones have got darn sticky. I'm using latex. Most people, when they're doing this stuff, they tend to use nitrile, which is not latex. And if you are someone who suffers from a latex allergy, then you're definitely going to want to use a nitrile glove. But I tend to use the latex mainly because these ones come lightly powdered inside, and I have really chubby hands, and I have trouble getting into the nitrile gloves without a whole stack of talcum powder, so I just use the latex. My hands are a bit damp now, so I'm just drying them off to make it easier to get them into the gloves. There are other areas damaged. There is one more. I did the hard one first for obvious reasons. The next one's a lot easier. It's really just the traces on the top. A bit of cleaning up and the traces on the top. The other one had broken through so many layers that we had to do quite a bit of repair underneath. But this one here is just the top layers by the looks of it. I mean, we'll see once we clean it out. It might be worse, but yeah. I just had some lunch and missed a bit. Can you go back to listen to me carefully? Right. I want you to listen to me very carefully. See, fat hands. Still not dry enough. Okay, so let's move across to the other section of damage. We'll just have a quick little inspection and you'll see what we're talking about. This is it here. You can see we've got 3 damage traces and we've got some damage to the next layer down, but I do not believe we have gone past that first layer of ground. But we will clean up and look. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time. I'm essentially going to just remove some of these traces. I'm going to pull them back, so we can inspect what is under them. Piffle. Oh damn, got green stuff on my hands now. Come on, gotta get these gloves on. Get them on, come on. Has anyone used JLC PCB? I can tell you, well, I can tell you that if anyone has seen my Macintosh Classic series, my series of 4 videos on building a brand new Mac Classic, those boards were made by JLC PCB. So are the new ones. I've now got the new version of that board, which has all of the mistakes that were in it fixed up. Those mistakes weren't done by JLC PCB, I might add. They were just prototyping design issues. So, but yes, those boards are made by JLC PCB. I've got no complaints with them. Generally, whenever I do my SCSI to SDs and those sorts of things, I've used PCB Way. I've been very happy with them. Been very happy with the quality of their production. I have had a few people say when you start getting to larger size boards and larger quantities, JLC PCB are cheaper. But I can't speak for that because I've only ever used for myself. I've only ever used PCB Way. But I do know that Kai Robinson uses JLC PCB, and I do know that Joe uses JLC PCB. So, and for years I used to call them JL PCB. I missed the C. I need tweezers that meet in the middle and give me enough purchase to grab this and tear it back. Yeah, we're doing it. Yay! Okay, so there's one. As I say, we're doing this again, same as what we did last time. We're just getting these traces. We're going to pull them out of the way so that we can clean up a little bit what's underneath. But as you can see, this one here really does not look as bad as the other ones. Another crater, yes, but this one is nowhere near as bad. This one should be a fairly straightforward. I'm hoping that all I need to do is just tidy this up a little bit, put a little bit of UV mask in, and then repair these traces on the top. I don't think we need to do repairing traces on a middle layer, because I don't think we got down that far with this one. And we'll see. And I didn't think we had on the other one either until I started digging. Right, let's have a look-see what we can see. Okay, so that's definitely a trace underneath, but I don't think it's broken. So as long as we are not actually making contact with any of these things, I believe we'll be fine. Okay, I'm going to need the ISO alcohol. Get this a good old clean, and then what I might do is I might get the the UV laser, because that showed me an awful lot. Yeah, see, there's a trace, but you can see it's not broken. So that's really nice. So I don't need to do anything with that at all. All I need to do is just mask that and then repair the traces over top. So this one is a much, much easier repair than the other crater. Way, way easier. You can see that there. You can see that trace clearly being shown there. And if I hit it with the laser, it might even highlight it even more. No, it's just flaring it out. Flaring it out. I can see it beautifully, but you can't. Okay, I'm happy. I'm happy. I've got my happy face on. You can't see, but I've got my happy face on. Because all we really need to do around here is insulate. That's all. I like it. I wonder which one got screwed first. As I mentioned before, this layer here is a ground. We can test that with our multimeter. I basically put one of my pins on an exposed piece of ground, and then I just poke. Oops, and you turn your multimeter on as well. So got one probe on ground, and then if I touch that, no, that's not. So we're all safe. We're all insulated there. Oop. Yep, we're all good. We're good. So it is now time for mask. And I'm not talking about the Jim Carrey movie or the Cher movie. Smokin'. Yes, that's right. So this is the second screw hole. So if you get a chance at some stage, Tom, I mean, it's a lot of time. I realise we're 2.5 hours into this live stream. If you get a chance, go back and have a look at the other hole. It went through deeper. So this one here has gone through this top layer of traces. It's gone through a ground plane, and then that's as far as it's gone. The other one went through the top layer of traces, a ground plane, and and then another layer of traces, and then another ground plane. And so there was quite a bit of work in doing the other one. This one is an absolute walk in the park by comparison. And I'm kind of pleased about that too, because otherwise I think I'd be down here all day. So as I mentioned in the earlier one here, when I put this on, although I want to fill this hole thoroughly, if I put too thick a coating of this stuff on, it becomes hard to dry all the way through. So I'm going to do it in layers. I do a thinner layer, and I will get that dry, and then I'll put another layer on. And that'll just give us all the insulation we need to then put these other traces on top. Dana, hello and welcome. And Zodium, I don't think I've said hello to you. So yeah, just recapping everyone who's just joining for the first time today. This is an Nvidia RTX 3090, which is apparently a very, very expensive and very important and very powerful graphics card. I got an email from someone who had seen my video on trace repairs, and he explained to me what had happened. He'd put this card in a computer. He's obviously kicking himself. He's so angry with himself that he ended up doing this. And it happens. We all stuff up. That's just life. But he was installing this in his computer, and then he was screwing something else in. Don't ask me what, but he was screwing something else in, and the screws were too long, and they went through, and they actually hit this board and created two massive craters in them, just where we're actually working here. One here and one a few centimeters away. Parallel to it. And so what basically he said, look, can this be repaired? And I said, well, I won't know until I can look at it under a microscope. By all means, send it through and I'll have a crack. And so this came through yesterday. And if for anyone who's got work with me at the moment is thinking, why is he working on something that came yesterday? Well, the main reason is because this one I thought would make a good YouTube stream. It doesn't mean that I'm not working on your stuff in my private time, you know, in my not live streaming time as well. I have actually been working on quite a few boards at the moment, which is good. I'm trying to get rid of the backlog. But I just thought this one would make a fairly good live stream. So I thought, yeah, we'll do this one. Yeah, so I started with the other hole first, which was the more difficult of the two because it did go through so many layers. And I'm feeling pretty good about that one. I can't test this. I won't be able to test this, which is a shame because I would love to be able to test it with standing back, but I just don't have anything that can use this. I mean, this needs to go in some sort of big, powerful gaming computer, and I don't have one of those. So I don't have anything that can even power this up. And not only that, he didn't send the board to me with the heat sink or the fan, and I wouldn't want to run this without a heat sink and a fan. So I can only, you know, I really can't fire it up. But I'm feeling pretty good about it, I have to say. I mean, I feel like the repair has gone incredibly well. It could have been a lot worse. And I mean, I won't know until this gets sent back to the customer, but I am feeling like I really hope this is going to work. So what we're just doing now is we're just providing insulation and protection, but mainly insulation between these exposed layers, so that when I do this trace repair on top, we're not going to accidentally touch things that aren't meant to be touched. I just made that word up. Touched. Yes, and this thing that is shining light here is basically a UV laser. So you know when you buy lasers, you know, any sort of laser that you might buy for, you know, the cat's going to chase around the backyard or something like that, a laser pointer. You can get some that are actually within a UV wavelength. And so they shine out quite a powerful amount of UV light. And that just allows me to cure this stuff quite quickly. One other way you can cure this stuff quite quickly is just put it out in the sun. It works quite well. Doesn't work quite well at night time or when it's cloudy, but when it's nice and sunny, if you get this into direct sunlight, the sun actually cures the stuff really quickly because that's obviously a pretty big UV globe up there. Yeah, and then this just goes rock hard, in theory, assuming I haven't coated too much on here and it hasn't dried in the middle, but we'll test that in a moment. There was something that I searched for. I can't remember at the time when I found this laser. I memorized it was like 4,000 nm or something. I can't remember. I can't remember, but there was a particular term that I used to tell people to search for. I'd say when you're searching for it, search for a laser with these words, and it was the wavelength. And when you did a search with that wavelength, it would generally bring it up. I got two different types of laser. The one that I'm holding here at the moment, and then I got another one which is floating around here somewhere. It's, yeah. The thing I like about this one is it has a focusable lens, so I can actually focus how small the dot is with a little lensy thing on the front, and so you can make this dot small enough. Is he going to do it? No, it's not doing it. But you can actually make that point small enough that it will actually burn things. Isn't that exciting? Burn things. All right, let's just check and see if this is dry. I will poke it. Poke, 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 poke. That's dry. Cool. So now we just need to repair these traces over top. And as I said, this is the easy bit. Chop, 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 chop. Thank you. nice big piece of fluff on the end of my scalpel here. Isn't that nice? I'm not at the right angle for this here. Choppity chop. Choppity chop. Choppity chop. 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 There we go. Goodbye. Do we need those traces? Probably not. But we'll fix them anyway. That is, of course, nonsense. We need everything. We need all the things. Apart from that piece of fluff. Right, so we now need to get some of this coating off here so that I can attach some solder to it. Oh, it's not to sell UV lasers for whatever reason. Well, I'll tell you what. Hey, GT, how you doing? Screw was brand new. Yes, he did. Well, I don't know. We call him a dumbass. We'll just call him careless. We've all made mistakes before. Doesn't make us dumbasses. It's that moment of carelessness. We've all been there. I remember I've broken a few things in my time. I don't consider myself a dumbass. Should I just get another scalpel blade? I feel like every time I put a new blade on, it's just so much easier to do this. When I do stuff like this, I refer to myself as stupid, not a dumbass. I go, oh, that was so stupid. If anyone's wondering why my computer is going ping, ping, it's because I haven't actually switched on the, what do you call it? The no notifications thing. Foolishly. So all of my text messages are pinging to this computer at the moment, going ping. And I think mainly, I haven't checked any of these messages for a while, but I think mainly because Steve is traveling at the moment, I think he's been keeping us up to date with things. Because we in the MacYak group have a little group chat where we keep each other abreast of what's going on in our lives. Oh, starting to gouge here. All right, I think that's probably enough there. I think I will burn the rest of that away with the heat of the soldering iron. And so we get some flux on there. That was no small amount of flux. Oh, shush. Shush, Steve, shush. Shush. Do not disturb on. Switch that off. It's just a little bit too much there. I do want to read all about it, but just not now. Okay, some solder on here now. Make sure I get the solder on here first. It's just a lot easier to work with when you get the solder on here first, rather than trying to apply solder to the wire and this at the same time. Make it so that we only have to apply the solder to the wire when we do the next bit. The wire. Now, I'm using 34 AWG, which stands for American Wire Gauge wire. It is the sort of wire that you would use for an electromagnet or for a transformer, which means it has an enamel coating on it. Now, I don't need the enamel coating for what I'm doing here, but if I was doing a long trace repair that snaked its way along the board, I would want that enamel coating because it would give me some insulation from touching other things. but it's not actually, I don't really need the coating here, but it's very easy to get the coating off just with a little bit of heat. So when I get some solder on the end of my iron here, and then I'll hold this in position with the tweezers, like this, and then I will just heat this, and the coating will just come straight off, and then we're soldered. There we go. That one was, how easy was that one? How easy? On a scale of 1 to 10, that was about a 1. Oh no, that's the difficulty. A scale of easy, it was a 10 or a 9. Just be aware that there are a few UV lamps out there that are just like an LED light rather than a laser, and some of them are really piss weak, and they won't give you the speed of curing that a laser will do. Another, oops, stay. And some of them may not be UV. That is also the case. I actually bought a UV globe. It was an LED UV light lamp thingy. And it's so impressive when you switch it on. But it's in the wrong wavelength. It is UV, but it's the wrong wavelength for drying this stuff. It's the wavelength they use for like sterilization. Because there's UVB-A and UVA and UVB and UVC and stuff like that. And this is one that's just sort of, it's within the wavelength they use for sterilizing things. And it just didn't cure this stuff. You could tell it was UV because it was making all the white things glow. That's what, you know, when you use a UV lamp, you know, like when you go to use a black light at the discotheque, at your local discotheque. But this was, but it just wasn't the sort of UV that was curing this mask. But it's a shame too, because it was the brightest thing out there. It was just so bright. I thought, oh man, this thing is going to dry it in seconds. But no. Sadly, I was mistaken. Okay. Now, can I tell you, to anyone out there who might be thinking of doing this sort of repair, don't do it without some form of microscope. It may not be immediately obvious, but this is not something you take on just using the nude eye. You are going to want, whether it be a USB microphone projecting on a screen or something like that, or whether it be a big microscope like the one I'm using here, you definitely want a microscope. Sorry, this is a bit wobbly here because I'm hanging off the edge of the table. But I need to be in this position. Sorry about the shaky hands today. They're way wobblier than they usually are. Maybe I've got the DTs. Okay, I'm going to do the same as I did last time. I'm just going to get these into position, and then I'm going to clean them up afterwards. I think I've got a little bit too much solder on the end of my iron. What do you think? The tip really needs cleaning. I'm going to do that in a sec. There we go. Cleany tip. Cleany tip. Oh. Yeah, I mean, getting a microscope like this is a significant investment. So you're not going to do it if it's something you're only going to use like once a year or something like that. But if you are planning to do, oh, piffle. If you're planning to do a few of these sorts of repairs, I can tell you it is, within my workshop, it is the most important thing I have. Other than maybe the soldering iron. But I guess the main thing with a soldering iron is, I mean, they're not that expensive. I mean, I have so many spare soldering irons. Looking good. All right, now we're going to tidy these up, get rid of the excess, like a snoop, and a snoop, and a snoop, and a snoop. I think you're snooping too much. Okay. There we go. Right, let's just tidy these ones up now, because as I said, I wasn't particularly happy with the way some of these were holding in. A bit more solder. Wobbly hands. Crap. I was starting to mess with my eyes, staring at this for such a long time. Well, I think we're good now. We'll just clean him up a little bit, and we'll just check and make sure that it all looks fine. Capacitor. Yeah, Steve also uses a Capacitor. I think it's a Capacitor, K-S-G-E-R. I ended up going with a Shine Now only because it was easier for me to get hold of than the Capacitor. I couldn't get hold of the Capacitor at all during the time that I wanted to buy one, so I got this one called Shine Now. It looks the same. It looks exactly the same as the Capacitor, but I think it runs in slightly different firmware. Right, let's get some flux remover. How big is that card? Would that even fit in a... Well, I don't think you'd be able to stick the door on. Put it that way. I think you could put it in there, but I think it would hang out the side. It's so deep. I mean, here's a... I'll do a comparison later on, but I mean, here's a... Like a... What is this? Some old crap? ATI Radeon thing? Now, it's old, but it is... The other one's a good inch, at least, deeper than this one. I'll do a better comparison when I'm not in microscope view anymore. I poured a little bit too much flux cleaner out. You know, this flux cleaner gets flux off really well, which I guess is kind of a good thing, seeing as it's called flux cleaner. Just worth keeping in mind for anyone out there who doesn't have an ultrasonic cleaner. This stuff really does a good job getting this flux off. Yay! Okay. Back to the old UV mascaroni. I'm going to put this. I've spilt flux cleaner all over my leg. On the bright side, the stuff evaporates really fast, so it won't be there for long. What the hell is that? There's a shard of glass here as well. Oh, I bet you it was stuck on the bottom of the bottle. Yeah, that's when I dropped the wine glass. I had the wine glass teetering up here and I walked past and knocked it off. Stupid. That's weeks ago, I might add. And it wasn't on line stream, which is good. Because it would have been bad. Shouldn't be consuming alcohol in a live stream. No way. So GT, if you're still watching, are you still planning to do a live stream tomorrow? It is evaporating. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe your flux cleaner. This is my flux cleaner. It's different to your flux cleaner. That's a big maybe from GT about a live stream tomorrow. $8K games that will run on the computer without the 32K expansion. Yay. On the PC Echo Station's jammed 4 of those cards in them. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's all what you do with your computer, isn't it? I mean, I don't play games on my computer, so there's really no point in me having. I use an RX 580 in my, it's an RX 590, which is essentially just an RX 580 in my classic Mac Pro, and it does a great job. I've got no issues with it at all. It drives 3 screens. I've got two 24-inch and a 28-inch or something like that. I don't know. So 2 screens on the left and 1 in the middle. Drives those beautifully. It's nice and quick. Really got no complaints whatsoever. I'm very happy with my RX 590. And now that I have OpenCore installed on my Mac Pro, I get my boot screen. Use it with that RX 580. But anything over that is just wasted on me. I'm just not going to use it. And when someone informed me that cards like this that are worth in the thousands of dollars for a single card, I'm like, yeah, no, yeah. But I guess it's what you're into, what your interests are, what you spend your time, doing on your computer. Well, I think we're done. I'm probably going to ultrasonically clean this. I'm not even sure if I have to, actually. I'm not sure I need to, but I probably should. Just make sure it comes out looking squeaky clean. Get rid of some of this paste and stuff on there because it had some thermal paste on there. This person's gone to a lot of trouble removing it all. So, but I believe we're all done. I mean, I feel inclined to check and make sure that I have done those trace repairs correctly. So shall I just follow that from there? Oh my God, I'm never going to find... Where's it going? Oh, crikey. There's a probe point. And what about this one? Okay, so there's a probe point right there. So if I get my beepity beep beep, beepity beep beep, and I go from this probe point here to one of these. Nope. I'm not sure I can be bothered tracing that all the way. That just seems like way too much hard work. I think it goes through to a via before it even gets to a probe point. So it's good. It's good. We all saw it. We all know it's good. Okay, so yes, I probably should just give people a view. What I'll do is I will change over to this top view so you can see just how messy my desk is. And where we have been working is there and there. So that's what we're working on. I will then get the microscope. I will zoom out as far as I can. Just about there. And then see if I can find something for scale. Do I have any matches? Matchsticks are usually good for scale. And this is my big fat finger. That gives you some form of scale. But I mean, I can't use coins or anything because we've got a different currency to a lot of people that are watching this stream. So there's nothing I can really do there. I don't think I have a box of matches down here. Oh, I've got a big box of matches, but they're big matches, so that throws out the scale. Sorry, got nothing to compare it to, other than my big fat. That's my pinky finger. How about that? There's my pinky finger. So, a Q-tip, maybe, like it's in a cotton swab. Yep. Okay. It gives you the size. So this is the one this was the big old crater where I had to do repairs underneath. So we can, I think if you can kind of just see one of them poking up underneath there. You can kind of see the wire, the little shiny green bit just below that second wire down. That's the other wire underneath. So there we go. And we've got layers of insulation between it, so we're all good. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty pleased. I'm considering that a done repair. 5-cent coin. I've got no coins on me whatsoever. So, right. So anyhow, that's it there. I am going to just do one more thing and then I'm going to wrap up the live stream. I'm going to hope that this is something that I can do fairly quickly. I had, as I mentioned earlier, I had someone donate a couple of things to me and I've forgotten their name and I'm really, really sorry. And I should find out what that name is before I finish the live stream. But I might put their name down in the description actually. Starts with A. That narrows it down. So I got gifted a display card and stuff like that. But one of the things I also got with this, they gave me a 230 megabyte quantum hard drive. Looks like the original that came with a 2SI. Now it does nothing, but I'm not sure if anyone out there is aware of the rubber issue with these. Might even zoom in a little bit here. Might be able to get a slightly better view. Zoom. Other way. There we go. That's a little bit zoomy. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for watching. Actually, look, everyone who persevered through that repair, which I appreciate, got a little bit tedious at times there. Thank you very much to everyone who did persevere and stick around and watch the whole thing happen. I mean, for me, it's a fairly rewarding thing. It'll be even more rewarding if it works. And I won't know that for some time yet, but at this stage, it went well. So, so I'm going to attempt to see if I can get this quantum hard drive working. Now, anyone who's not seen this fix before, basically what happens, there's this little rubber stopper inside the hard drive, and what happens is they get sticky, and then the head gets stuck to it, and then it can't travel across the drive. Now, obviously, the moment you take the cover off a hard drive, it's being exposed to dust, and you have a very good chance that the hard drive is never going to work again properly. And I accept that will probably be the case. But all I'm interested in doing with this is having a look at what's on there. And no, I'm not trying to snoop around other people's personal stuff. It's almost like a duty type thing when it comes to these vintage Macs, is to get them and check to see if there's anything on there which hasn't already been archived, whether it be drivers for display cards, drivers for network cards, you know, drivers for accelerators, you know, little bits of rare software that someone might have had that's not on any other computer. So I've always seen it as, you know, you've got to go gold digging with these things to try and find out if there's anything there. And so that's what I plan to do with this one. I want to open it up and see if I can get it working, and get it working even if it's just long enough to grab all the data off the drive, see if there's anything important there. Okay, that's just a hole. We don't need to worry about that. We do need to undo that, and we do need to undo that. Put my glasses on so I can see what I need to undo. That looks like it talks, and that's going to be wrench. Can I do it with a pair of pliers? Come on. Did it move? Did I move it? Yeah, it moved. Okay, that comes off, and then that we need to undo with one of my torques. Don't ask me which one, because I don't know. What's this one? That's a pentalobe. That's going to be no use to me whatsoever. What about that one? That's a Torx T6. Oh, it's the right one. Gold, 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 gold. Right, so we need to take this off now, and ideally we want to take this off. Let's move these down here, floating away. That's where they should be, down in that little zone. But I moved them last time because what I was working on was right there. Okay. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Thank you, Christopher, for that comment. That's very nice of you to say that. Okay. Now, we have more problems here than just rubber. Yeah, you want to see those lines there? Basically what has happened, as far as I can see, it's probably been caused, I guess, by some corrosion. Probably some corrosion has got in here, and that's ended up building up on this platter, and then it, you know, the head's travelled over it and scraped that off. So he's gone. I really don't think we've got any chance of restoring this at all to any state of workingness, because it is in such poor condition. Now, having said that, let's see whether we do have the issue with the rubber. And that platter is stuffed. You know, it's funny. Look, the rubber is probably stuffed. It's not that bad, actually. The rubber's certainly not sticky enough to make it stick to it. So that's not the issue here. That's fine. But even when I just move the head, have a look at this. See this line? it's actually touching whatever is on the surface of this drive. So we basically consider this drive history. This is unrecoverable. It's a mess. So that's a shame, as I say, because as much as possible, I do like, you never know. This could have had a sort of a network card driver on there that no one has been able to find, and people have been looking for years. You never know, and that's now gone. So I just, it is a shame that's the case. And as I say, I think this is almost definitely corrosion. I think this has probably been sitting maybe in a moist environment, or because it did have a battery explosion. And I think what's happened is there's been a build-up, like a coating, a corrosion coating on top of the platter here, and then it's just meant that it's filled in that gap between the platter and the head, and now the head is actually touching it. As you can see, it's actually removing that. So, who knows, I could get out a bit of iso alcohol and give it a good old wash, give it a try. What do you reckon? You reckon it's worth a try? Try and clean it? It's a rhetorical question. I really don't think there's any chance. But I am curious. I do actually want to give it a wipe, because I want to see if that coating that is on it is actually something that is just sitting on the surface and cleans away. And of course, keep in mind that this is just the top. It could have the same thing underneath it. There are 2 platters in this, and both of them are double-sided. So there's essentially 4 layers of drive here, and all I'm doing is looking at the top one. Yeah, I can really feel it. You can actually feel it on the surface when I wipe. It's kind of got a roughness about it. This should be perfectly smooth, but it feels like it's almost like a fine, really fine sandpaper underneath there. It's gone. It's history. Let's see what it looks like under the microscope. I can't get super close because this isn't that sort of microscope. It's not the sort that you would use for looking at amoebas and whatnot. But we can at least have a little bit of a look-see. See if we can see anything. It's about as close as I can get. And really, it shouldn't look so liney like that. See how liney it looks? It looks like we're looking at a record player, or a record, old vinyl record with the grooves on it. It really shouldn't look like that. It should look like that. That's the cutoff point. This is where the head's been dragging, and this is where it's untouched, because the head can't get that far. And you can see there's a very distinct line there where that damage has occurred. So, yep, so it would have been nice, but yeah, this one is a lost cause, regrettably. I guess the one thing I can take from this is a couple of great big magnets. So if anyone is ever after nice big powerful magnets, they're just here. So we can just, oops. Nope, that screwdriver's not the right sort of screwdriver. Where is the right sort of screwdriver? No, that's not the right sort of screwdriver. Oh, here it is. Got it. Found it. Got it. There is a video of a guy demonstrating this. I think it might even be an Australian person demonstrating this process of removing the rubber from these to make the drive work again. I don't know if anyone's actually seen it before. I've watched it, and it's very enlightening. It's great, but it is one of the most frustrating things in the world to watch, because the guy who's actually dismantling the drive, he doesn't have the right size screwdriver when he's undoing the screws, and you're sitting there watching him wrestling trying to get these screws out with the wrong size screwdriver. Just sort of, it's like, get a proper screwdriver before you film it. Power it on. Yeah, I should, shouldn't I? That's the magnet, by the way. I don't have a power supply here. I'd have to bring one of the other Macs in. I suppose I could do that. How badly do people want to see this switched on? So I'll do it if you want. I respond to the masses. got that I can power it up from? What's this one here? Just still got anything? Oh, this one's got Molex connectors on it. So I just have to make sure that none of these short. So if you're wondering why this power supply looks like this, it's quite simple. This power supply is going to be turned into a power supply for a Mac 2, I think, or something. Most of the power supplies I have, I think they still have Molex connectors on them. So, yep, this one does. So this is a power supply that I have altered to be a Macintosh 2CI and 2SI power supply. So I use this for testing when I'm, connecting those. I can just plug those in. 2CI, 2SI, and I think there's a 2VX and 2VI. Use the same one as well. But all of these power supplies have these Molex connectors on them, so we should at least be able to fire this one up. So let's see what happens, eh? See if it spins up. Spin, Charlie, spin. Of course, it could just short out and stuff, but we'll just see what happens. It'll be a lot easier to clean now, won't it? That'll buff out. That'll buff out. It'll be fine. There we go. Good as new. You'd never know. Oh yeah, I'm not going to do anything too stupid for obvious reasons. I don't want this thing to smash into a million pieces and go flying across the room. But anyhow, there we go. It's on. And I'm wearing glasses. I know they're not safety goggles, but at least they give me some line of protection. What if, see, I'm taking risks now. What if I did that? I did that. Move the head out there to start it out here. How about that? Moved a little bit further that time. Yay! Okay, I think we've done that. Hard drive art. All right. Well, I think I've entertained my little brain with that enough for now. Oh, look at this. I got a super chat. Thank you for that, Jay. Much appreciated. There we go. All right. Well, I'm going to start the old wrapping things up at this stage. Thanking everyone for their the pleasure of their company. Thank you for watching the live stream, even during the boring bits. I do appreciate that. Recap the board. It's just one cap. You talking about the other one? Yeah, may as well. Okay. One board, one cap recap. There we go. And then we'll call it a night. So what we have here is a mess, but I think it'll be fine. Needs a bit of an ultrasonic. Oh, geez, it is ugly, isn't it? This might need some repair. I'll have a look at this on the microscope. So this has come from a battery damaged 2SI, and as you can see, we've got a fair bit of green going on here. Green, 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 green. I don't know if we have broken traces here. This will need a good go over in the ultrasonic, but that doesn't look too crash hot. There and there and there and there as well. All right, so let's just whip him off. He is a 47 microfarad 16 volt, so that's a fairly quick and easy one for us to do. Don't even need heat shields because I'm going to just blow all the hot air off the side of the board. You know what, this one would probably be a reasonable candidate for twisting him off because I don't think there's much holding him on anymore. So everyone thought it was time to go, and then someone just said, hey, do one single cap recap. And then we can then still call it a recapping stream, can't we? And then cleaning. Oh, geez, I can't use a micro pencil for this. No, it will not result in another 2 hours. I do not have 2 hours to spend. But it does make sense to just do this one here while I'm here. It's such a quick one. Such a quick and easy. Okay, let's get the one here. Sorry about the belly view, everyone. Can do without that. Here we go. Get it in there. There we go. Well, don't give me that. There we go. Warming up, warming up. Bip. Any minute now. Bip. Oh, that stinks. There we go. This is going to be the quickest recap ever. Thank you. 80 bucks. Surface mount tantalums. There we go. Come on. There we go. Oh, thank you for that, Jay. Recap-a-mac. Recapping guides. No recapping guides for this one. But let's face it. Shouldn't have too much trouble doing this one with one single capacitor, 47 microfarad 16 volt. And I'm just going to plop this here. I have heard a few people saying that they're having trouble getting hold of some capacitors at the moment because of the kind of electronics shortage we have at the moment, which is very worrying, I have to say. I know that things like the chip that is used on the SCSI to SDs, not the 6 but the version 5s, apparently that is in very short supply. And there are some concerns about whether SCSI to SDs are going to be able to keep up with the demand. So it's, you know, I mean, we're not talking about a situation where these chips are never going to become available again, but there just could be a really long wait before they have decent supply again. So yeah, and we're done. Recap. So there you go, that wasn't too painful. That didn't make it too much of a difference to the length of the live stream, was it? Did it? That only added a couple of minutes. So, to the 27 people that are still here, thank you very much for sticking right to the end there. Thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the questions and the answers and all those sorts of things. Thank you all very, very much. And I hope to see you at the next live stream. I think I'll try and find something interesting to do. I've got loads and loads of stuff here, just trying to find the ones that are interesting enough to do a live stream. So thanks again, and I will hopefully see you at the next one. So bye, everyone.